I'm Roberta Parker. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm getting close to the end of my working days. I'm thinking about retiring shortly. And so when the opportunity came up for this program, I jumped on it. I've been asked what my favorite experience has been on this program. And I honestly cannot say that I've had a favorite. There are so many highlights. Everything from the churches that we saw to last night, the tour of the Vatican, St. Peter's, to the aperitivo evenings with the group, to the wine tasting, to learning Italian and going to the market, going to the ancient pharmacy that was started by the monks. Everything has been wonderful. I really cannot say that there was one particular thing that stood out. Everything stood out. Come on this program, you will love it.
My name is Seville McDonald, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, but my Italian name is Isabella Roma. The two things I liked were secrets and food. Secrets. We had such a fun time with our professors. They were very engaged with their topics. They were very passionate, and almost every class there was a secret that was disclosed, whether it was the author or artist signature, or whether it was a hidden door that we would pass every day, but all of a sudden here's a medieval wall and entrance to a castle, or some intriguing unknown rivalry between artists, or a love triangle, or something exciting that we wouldn't have found out had we been tourists. One of my favorite parts of this experience was walking to school in the morning. It was so wonderful to have a place to go, to have the neighborhood begin to feel like it was mine, to have my bakery and my grocery store. That sense of feeling at home was really one of the highlights of this experience.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Ciao, AJ. How do you feel today?
I'm feeling all right, Johnny. Thanks for asking. I woke up with a little bit of laryngitis, actually, so I'm losing my voice. Not the best timing, but I'm going to try my best to stay with you guys for the duration of the webinar.
Thank you. You will be great, I'm sure. And during this webinar, we're going to give you a lot of information about this fantastic adult study abroad program that we have here at Temple University of Rome campus. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for signing up, for being here. For those of you who are live with us right now, it will be great if you can just put in the chat box your name and where you're from. We would like to hear from you, because I know we have a lot of people connected right now, but I know that other people will watch this webinar later on in a recorded way, of course. Today, we're going to give you a lot of information about this program. Feel free to use the chat box to ask questions. Some of these questions will be answered live, either from me, from AJ, or from Helen Zeitman, who's our alumni assistant here at Temple University Rome, or some others will answer live at the end of the webinar. So stay connected with us until the end. I'm going to introduce myself now very soon. My name is Gianni, and I am here the coordinator for orientation, student activities, and social media manager at Temple University Rome, and also work with AJ so for some fun activities for this program. And today also with me, we're going to have AJ Fitzgerald, who's actually the program coordinator of this Adult Study Abroad program, adjunct professor, Department of English, but also running the Academic Support Center. And AJ will talk more, of course, in details about the program. Just a few words about this fantastic Villa Caproni, where we're located, about Temple University.
Well, hold on, Johnny. Normally we do this webinar especially for Temple University alum, but I think we have a lot of guests joining us who may not be familiar with Temple University in Philadelphia.
Correct.
So maybe we could start from the beginning and explain to people on the call what is and where is Temple University.
Yes, Temple University is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, since 1884. You can see this is a photo of the main, what we call the main campus. But Temple University has also a study abroad program here in Rome. This is a Villa Caproni. We also have the freshman program since a couple of years, and we also have the adult study abroad program. The Rome campus that you can see in this fantastic photo, and behind me, it's in this Villa Caproni, owned by family Caproni. And Temple Rome is here since 1966. We started with just 18 students that coming over from the United States on a boat to start the program. And now every semester, we're about 300 students, undergrad, academic, and as I said, also freshmen and adults, all together in just one ancient villa in the heart of Rome. In fact, the Villa Caproni is located right centrally located. As you can see, it's walking distance to Villa Borghese, Piazza del Popolo. You can walk to the Spanish Steps, Trevi Fountains, the Pantheon, the Vatican. It's all like a walking distance to the downtown Rome. This map, remember this map, because it's very important when we're going to talk about housing, where you want to look for an apartment in Rome. The area that you can see on your left, which is between Piazza del Popolo and the Vatican City, it's called, the one that AJ is highlighting, it's called Prati. That is a very nice area that we totally recommend to look for an apartment when you're coming to study in Rome. Nice, with a lot of stores and nice apartments, very safe. And so we definitely recommend that area. And now I'm going to pass it to AJ because we want to go into the details of this program. Yeah. AJ, to you.
Thank you so much, Johnny, for that lovely introduction. And thank you so much to everyone on the call for joining our webinar this evening. Before I get into our very detailed overview of what this Adult Study Abroad program is, I just want to remind you that there are a lot of great features in Zoom that can help you sort of engage with the webinar as we proceed today. There's the reaction buttons. You can raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. There's the chat if you want to connect not only with us as panelists, but your fellow participants in the webinar. And then there's the Q&A. And because we have a lot of people connected on the webinar and we have a relatively, I do see the hands going up. We have a relatively tight time frame to cover everything. And I think we're going to cover a lot of common questions throughout the course of the webinar. We're going to ask that you keep hold of your most pressing questions until the very end. You can always write some notes in the chat. My colleague Helen is on the line. She's not on video, but she's on the line monitoring the chat and monitoring the Q&A section. So the questions that we can address via text, we'll try to do so. And then we'll have a dedicated question and answer section at the end of the webinar. And of course, we're also going to be joined by some of our program alumni. So you can ask questions not only to Johnny and me, but also to alums of the program as well. So again, if you would like, you can write a note in the chat, just where you're connecting from and what motivated you to join our webinar to learn more about adult study abroad. It'd be great for you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit.
AJ,
So,
just one thing that I see from the question
yeah.
answers, they are saying that the chat is disabled. They can't access the chat. So I don't know if there's something that you can do right now to
Oh,
do that, or you can definitely continue doing what you're doing in the Q&A.
oh, wow.
Working. You
All
can
right.
definitely put your questions in the Q&A.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We'll keep an eye on that as we go. I'm really sorry about that. It seems like one of the settings on the chat must have been entered incorrectly, but we can go ahead and use the Q&A, and we'll be able to even take some live questions at the end, not just text questions, but we'll do that at the end. I apologize for that mistake. We might be able to fix it, but I don't want to derail the webinar too much digging through the Zoom settings. So my apologies for the technical issue, but we can keep going and use the Q&A section for the rest of the Zoom. So let's get into it. Adult study abroad, very simply, is kind of what it sounds like. It's an opportunity for adult learners of all ages, and I really want to highlight this idea of all ages. It's not a seniors only program, but for adults, in the past, we've had participants ranging in age from mid-20s to 80 years old and everything in between. So it's really a multi-generational program. And we think that's one of the things that makes it a really special experience. So it's a unique opportunity for learners of all ages to study at Temple University's overseas campus in Rome, Italy. And it's great not only for people who studied abroad in Italy themselves as undergraduates years ago, but also those who never had that chance and would like to do so now. You can find out more about the program on our website. We have lots of information about the 2023 edition of the program at this link, and we're constantly updating this link with more information. And what you can see here, you may recognize some of these people from the video clip we showed at the beginning of the webinar, but these are the participants from our inaugural cohort of adult study abroad, which took place in fall 2021. Since then, we've had 3 separate cohorts go through the program, and now we're getting ready to welcome 2 new cohorts of adult study abroad to our Villa Caproni here in Rome in 2023. This picture, by the way, was taken at the Castle of Titignano in Umbria, which is a traditional orientation trip that we've gone on with our students. We did this for about 30 years, right, Johnny?
Yes,
it's a long
we've
tradition.
been going there like for about 30 years now.
Yeah.
Yep, correct.
So the other big question you must be having, okay, it's an opportunity to go to Italy to study abroad, but what are the dates? What do I actually have to put on my calendar? And so we've just recently published the dates for the 2 cohorts of adult study abroad in 2023. I want to emphasize that these 2 cohorts it's the same program, but in order to meet the demand we were seeing last year, we decided to offer the program twice. So spring cohort for those people who preferred to come in May and June, and a fall cohort for those who prefer to come in September and October. But otherwise, the programs are identical. So you choose one or the other. Next year, the spring program, we have arrival set for May 10th, followed by 3 days of our orientation program, which includes a really nice trip to Umbria, not unlike what you saw in the picture there. Classes will begin on Monday, May 15th. The last day of classes is Wednesday, June 21st. And then the spring group will depart on Thursday, June 22nd. In addition, we have the fall group. So we just had a fall group a couple of weeks ago. They just left Rome a couple of weeks ago, actually, mid-October. But next year, the fall group's going to be arriving on Wednesday, September 6th. Again, 3-day orientation program. That would be Thursday through Saturday. Classes begin on Monday, September 11th. And the program, the finale, the last day of classes, the 18th, and departure on October 19th. So those are the 2 dates we have set for adult study abroad in 2023. Now, Johnny, before we get into the really, all of the details about the classes people will be taking, what the schedule might look like, what the syllabus might look like, and things like that. You've been working for Temple Rome campus for a while. You've gotten to see the impact that the study abroad experience has had on so many of our undergraduate students over the year. And not only do you get to see them here on campus, but you get to go back to Philadelphia and coordinate our study abroad reunions, which you just had. So I'm wondering, in your conversations with our students over the year, maybe you could say a few words about why people should study abroad in the first place. What kind of impact are these students saying that this experience had on them?
Right. Of course, everyone has a different reason, right? And the study abroad program left a different impact on people. But in general, I have to say, there's so many reasons why you should come and study in Rome. It's different from an undergrad point of view, I guess, than from an adult perspective. And maybe it's going to be different and the reasons are going to be totally different. But Rome is in Italy. Some of you already know how you've been here already. As an adult, maybe you've been already, and Rome is a masterpiece of art. Everywhere you go and you walk around, there's an art. It's a beautiful place. But the program in itself, it's an experiential learning. The program itself, and I'm talking now about the adult study abroad in 6 weeks. You're not going to have just the classes inside of Villa Caproni, but you're also going to go visit museums. You're going to go outside with your Italian professor, going to some stores, trying to order your food in Italian. You're going to go and get an aperitivo with your friends after classes. So you're going to have also some class trips during the weekends or on Fridays. So as we want to say, when we say like come and study in Rome, yes, you're going to go to some classes, but you're also going to go outside and visit, and not only Rome, but some Italian some cities. Here you have some photos, beautiful photos of some excursions, like we have like a visit to the Vatican with your professor. You're gonna have like this is the lunch at Titignano, for example, with the rest of the group, meeting.
This is Pompeii.
People.
Up in the
Then
top
we have
left.
Pompeii on the top. It's one of the excursions that is a part of the program. We're going to see that some of the excursions are going to be part of the program, and some others are optional, as somebody already asked in the question and answer about courses, because some are part of the program, but we also have some optional courses that we're going to talk in a while. So many reasons that I've seen at the reunion, but also during the info session for the adult study abroad program in Philadelphia, the relationship that this program created among students, among people. What you leave here, it's something completely different. You're going to be living in a different country, different culture, different language, and the people you create some sort of relationship, it's going to be amazing, and creating like some long-term friendships. So there's so many reasons why you want to come to Rome. It's not a vacation, because you're going to be studying for 6 weeks, but you're going to be living as an Italian. You're going to go back and forth from your apartment, but almost every day to campus. But you're also going to have a lot of free time to explore by yourself Rome and some cities all over Italy. You're going to have like some weekends are going to be totally free, that you can travel wherever you want. So it's the right, a balance between experiential learning classes, but also experiencing. So there's a lot going on. And from an adult point of view, I think you can see things from a different perspective now. It's completely different. And this is what I saw from, the adults that I met at the info session in Philadelphia last week.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Johnny, for that for that lovely answer. If I can just add a couple things, you know, in 6 weeks, it seems like a long time compared to a normal vacation, but once you get here, I think most of our participants have remarked about how quickly it goes by and how much more they wish they could do. In fact, I've lived in Rome now for about 5 years, and there's so much still that I haven't seen just about Rome, let alone all of Italy. But I think what can really happen in those few weeks or few months of a study abroad program is not only will you start to learn about this new place that you've gone to, and not only will you make those wonderful friendships and relationships that Johnny mentioned, but sometimes stepping, you know, further away, you know, a little bit outside of your comfort zone, getting a little further away from the place where you came from, can you give you a great perspective on yourself and on those places you came from, and that's a great recipe for personal growth. And I think we've heard that's what we've heard from our alumni of this program, but also our undergraduates for a long time, is that their study abroad experience gave them an opportunity to reflect upon themselves and find opportunities for personal growth. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the basics of the program, but while Johnny was speaking, I was able to fix the chat. So I see people are able to post away in the chat, and if you can, now that we finally you know, figured this out, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat, just, you know, your first name maybe and where you're connecting from, I think would be great to see where everyone is coming from to this webinar, and also why you're motivated to learn more about adult study abroad, what first caught your attention. So while you're doing that in the chat, let's go over the basics of the adult study abroad program. As you saw from the timing on the previous slide, it's a 6-week duration, which is a little less than half of our usual semester. So again, it's long compared to usual vacation, but we think it's just right in terms of this program. We really want this to be a study abroad program and not just another regular travel experience. In order to do that, we think you really need time to immerse yourself in a new city, in a new place. That said, you know, we don't think that our students necessarily want to fly all the way across the Atlantic or come from wherever they may be coming from just to sit in the same generic classroom that they might be sitting in back at home. And so for all of our classes, not just in the Adult Study Abroad program, but for our undergraduates too, Rome is really your classroom. We have a great emphasis on experiential learning in our curriculum. And that means you're going to be on site visiting museums, archaeological sites, churches throughout Rome, things like this, and even meeting, you know, various people in Rome, depending on the optional classes you take. We had an artists and artisans class, for example, this past semester, where our participants were going out and actually visiting artists and artisan studios week to week, and actually watching people work and getting to listen to them talk about their work. And so again, we really emphasize the experiential learning aspect of our programs for all the programs we do. Classes are held Monday through Thursday, so you have a lot of time to also plan your own sort of excursions and trips and things on the weekend. And the adult study abroad classes, although they are separate from our undergraduate courses, they are always taught by the same Temple Rome faculty who teach our Temple University undergraduates. So that's the general overview, the general basics. But now let's get into more specifics and talk about the various elements of the program. And the program is broken up into what we call the base program, which are these things up here. And then we also have some supplemental program options. And we've set things up this way because we want people to have a decision, have the opportunity to decide how much of a time commitment they would like to give to the program, but also how much of a financial commitment they would like to make to the program. So the base program is generally what you enroll in, and it consists of the highlights of Rome course, which we'll talk about in a second, an Italian language and culture course. And again, we'll get into the details of these syllabi on the next few slides. That 3-day program orientation, including an all-day trip to Umbria. And some of our participants who will be joining the webinar later on can talk to you more about what that experience was like. And then we also have weekly extracurricular activities, which Johnny can say quite a lot about because he's our activities manager here at the Temple Rome campus and has been doing this for a long time. He's created some really wonderful activities for our students. So that's the base program. In addition, if you would like to do a little bit more, there's an option of taking an optional course. These again are courses created especially for the adult study abroad group. This past year, we had a group class called Migration and Identity in Contemporary Italy, and then also that Artists and Artisans course, which I just mentioned. We have optional day trips occasionally on Friday, so 1 or 2 of these optional Friday trips per semester. We typically, for example, go to Tivoli near Rome to see Hadrian's Villa and the Villa d'Este, both very, very beautiful sites. And then we have an optional weekend excursion. So Friday through Sunday towards the middle of the program. And I'll talk a little bit about that excursion in the next slides, but we've really had great fun on that trip the last few semesters. So what I have here is a sample itinerary, sample schedule of the program from this past fall. So you can kind of see how the days were organized. In the mornings, generally, you're having those experiential learning sessions. And in this case, it was Tuesday through Thursday morning. Monday and Thursday afternoon, you're in the classroom. It can be quite warm in the afternoons in Rome. So that's when we try to stay inside in the classroom in the air conditioning. So you'll be in the classroom for your Italian language and culture course. And then we had the optional courses. The scheduling really changes semester to semester, but you could see one of those courses took place Monday mornings, the other one Wednesday evenings. Oh, didn't mean to do that. And on Tuesday evenings, we had all sorts of events for the group. So we had a homemade Italian cooking class, which is great. It's hosted in an Italian family's, an actual Italian family home. We had a pizza making class, wine tasting. We also typically have an arts event because our origins here at Temple Rome are as an art school, and we have some wonderful art studios. So this event schedule kind of changes semester to semester. Now, if we can keep going, I can talk a little bit about that Highlights of Rome course. This is one of the 2 base courses in the program, and it's really a broad survey of art history in Rome, starting with antiquity, actually the Etruscan. So the Etruscans, a pre-Roman society, and going all the way through ancient Rome, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, and the Baroque period. So it is a broad survey, an introduction to the field. And this is a class that you're going to be on site with your professors twice a week. So you're not just going to be learning about these from a PowerPoint presentation in class, but you're actually going to be on site visiting these places twice a week for the duration of the program. And we actually have a sample syllabus here. If I click on this, unfortunately, it's not working. I had the object embedded, but in any case, if you decide, if you send me an email, if you want to see more details, we're happy to also show you sample syllabus so you can see, okay, what are those kinds of places we might be seeing throughout the program. The Italian language and culture course. So this is something I really want to clarify from the get-go. Some people are kind of scared at the prospect of learning a new language, especially if they haven't been in school for a long time or if they hadn't studied a language for a long time. So especially next year, we're going to do, we're going to be giving everyone a language test, anyone who wants to take a language test, so we can separate you before you arrive on the basis of your Italian language level. So if you're a complete beginner, do not fret, because you will certainly find other people in the program in the same boat as you. But we're also working hard now, after we've had a few semesters of this program under our belt, to provide more opportunities for people who have a little more Italian experience and want to do something a little more accelerated. That said, this class, again, is a great example of our commitment to experiential learning. So you will have a couple of classroom sessions, sort of standard classroom sessions, but embedded in our classes, we also have what we call our Italian tutors. So in addition to your instructor, we have a wonderful group of Italian university students from a nearby interpreter school that they do their internship hours with us, and they're embedded in the class. And it basically it gives you a great opportunity to practice speaking Italian, not only with your fellow language learners, but actual native speakers in the classroom setting, in addition to your teacher. In addition to that classroom environment twice a week, we have our Italian cultural labs, which again will take you outside of the classroom and will explore a different aspect of contemporary Italian culture each and every week with your Italian professors. And let me say, our Italian professors are some of our most popular professors on campus. And the reason is because they'll really be you're one of perhaps your best ambassadors for Italy and Italian culture, your best connection to Italy and Italian culture. So you can see here, this is just a clip, a photo from our 2021 Italian language and culture course. And again, we have our little sample syllabus here. So in addition to that, you have the 2 courses as part of the base program. You have the orientation program. And then we also have weekly activities. So actually, we find that our participants stay relatively busy throughout the course of the 6 weeks. So Johnny, you've helped me put a lot of these activities together in the class in the past. You've been doing this for our students for a long time. Could you just talk about some of the activities we've organized at Temple Rome in the
Sure.
past?
Sure. Of course, as AJ said, this might change because something or more ideas will come up, a more suggestion from the previous cohorts that have been here. So we actually follow your suggestion and the suggestion of the previous students, and we try to make it happen. But for sure, one of the highlights of every semester are the wine tasting that you can see the photo on the left. We have a professional sommelier. She's Italian, of course. And she will talk through and explain about the wine, what's behind a glass of wine, how to pair the food and wine, how to choose the right wine. And then, of course, there's going to be a tasting of a Prosecco and a white and a red. This is one of the events that you're going to have together with our undergrad students. And I have to say that because of some of the activities that you have are just for your program. So you're going to be just the adult study abroad program going and having that activity. The wine tasting instead is with the undergrad. And I have to say, the adults always had such a great time and they loved it. And then, of course, you're also going to get your Temple Rome glass as a memory of the event. On the right, you see instead it's a cooking class. As I just said, this changes every semester. Some of the cooking class happen in an Italian apartment. An apartment owned by an Italian family with this Italian family. You're going to start cooking with them a fresh pasta, tiramisu, and of course, at the end, you're going to eat the results of your job. So and it's a way to get to know more about Italian culture, about how also to cook it in an Italian way, but also how to mingle with the rest of the group. And I have to say, it's always great. These are a couple of photos from the previous cohorts, but also we're going to have some other activities like the jazz night that AJ mentioned before, and aperitivo and other things that will happen every semester. These activities are part of the program. So we want to mention that when you have this program, you have the 2 courses, but you also have included in your package, they're also like a sort of activities like the wine tasting, the cooking class. Otherwise, some others could be optional. That's a different story, but we're going to get there.
Great. Thank you, Johnny. And again, some of these activities, they change year to year, but we tend to do at least a few of the highlights. We tend to do fairly similar activities each semester. In addition to those base elements of the program, of course, we have some optional elements. So I'll go through these kind of quickly because I want to make sure we can get to our alumni so you can actually hear from firsthand from people who have been through the program already. Optional short courses. These are typically, a sort of, we call them short courses or mini courses because they typically meet once per week for the duration of the program. and it'll give you, you know, an inside look at one of the other disciplines that our professors work on here at Temple Rome, outside of art history, outside of Italian language. So some of the examples from the past, we had one of our architecture professors teach a Neighborhoods of Modern Rome course. Each class was looking at the sort of urban development of a different neighborhood of Rome. Artists and artisans, where you're going and visiting real live working art and artisan studios, contemporary art and artisan studios throughout the city, and migration and identity in contemporary Italy. And this was a really interesting class where our participants were sort of visiting some of the famous multicultural neighborhoods of contemporary Rome, visiting nonprofit organizations that are working directly to support, you know, various immigrant populations to the city. So it really is always an emphasis on experiential learning. So here's just a picture from a couple years ago of that Neighborhoods of Modern Rome short course. And then of course we have a weekend excursion. So typically we go to the Bay of Naples area. We stay in Sorrento because our faculty guide has lived in Sorrento for 20 years and she really enjoys sharing this area with our students. We take the opportunity to visit Pompeii and Naples. And in the past, we've gone to Paestum to see the lovely Greek temples there. Although, again, we sometimes change these itineraries a little bit semester to semester. But here's a great picture of our first group, 2021. What great weather they had, you know, in front of the temples of Paestum. And this is just kind of a sample itinerary. So you have, for these weekend excursions, not only are you getting, you know, the private transportation, we usually charter a bus that will stay with us for the entire weekend. You're getting the guided tours, the hotel set up for you. We also have a lot of really lovely group meals included in Sorrento. We eat down by the water. You know, it's usually right around sunset. It's really, really lovely. So really, you get all of this included. You don't have to plan anything. All you have to do is show up and get on the bus, and then we'll return you Sunday evening back home. And then Friday excursions. So these are just quick day trips. We've been to places like Tivoli and Sperlonga in the past, and here's a quick photograph of our participants in 2021 at the Villa d'Este in Tivoli, which is really famous for its stunning gardens. So before we get to our alumni, there are a few things that I want to clarify because I know it's a lot of information and it's a lot to take in just one sitting. So there are a few things that we want to make super, super clear before we end the webinar today. Things that we've gotten a lot of questions about in the past. First, I mentioned this earlier. Here's a lovely photo of some of our participants just from this past fall. And you can see, as I mentioned earlier, it's a multi-generational program. It's not a seniors only program, but we have had in the past participants as young as 23 and as old as 80 and everything in between. So general eligibility requirement is that you are not currently enrolled in a university undergraduate program and generally 21 and older. Applicants need not have any prior affiliation with Temple University. A lot of our applicants are in fact Temple University alumni, but you don't need to be a Temple University alum in order to apply to the program. Another thing that we want to emphasize is that experiential learning can sometimes mean it's walking intensive. And that's because the archaeological sites that we're going to be visiting, for example, the Roman Forum, they can be quite expansive, and Pompeii, they can be quite expansive sites. They're ancient historic sites, and so they may have uneven footing. They may have occasionally stairs. And you know, for participants coming from the United States, it's worth noting that of course the city of Rome is beautiful, filled with historic buildings and landmarks, but it does not quite hold up to American you know, ADA standards in terms of mobility and accessibility. It's just an unfortunate fact of the city of Rome. You know, the classrooms you'll be in here on our campus, you know, we have accessible classrooms and accessible bathrooms and things here on campus, but we cannot always control the environment out in the city when we're doing this sort of experiential learning activity. So we want to make this clear from the get-go. We also want to make it clear that this is not your usual sort of travel program. So you're not just going to have tour guides leading you, but university professors leading you on all of these trips. And 6 weeks away means you're not going to be necessarily staying in a hotel, but you're going to be staying in, an apartment, and you're going to have to do all those usual things of living that you do back home, whether it be going to the market and shopping for groceries, cooking for yourself, also doing like laundry and things. So you're really living away, and it's not just a normal sort of vacation away. And we think that's actually one of the really fun things about the program. We'll find our participants inviting each other over to their apartments for dinner parties and things like that. And we think it ends up being really lovely. And then finally, because everyone is living independently, and we'll talk more about this in a second, you will have to commute to and from school, to and from activities independently like a university student. We don't have necessarily, a hotel where everyone's staying and then a bus to school and a bus back. So it does require a certain level of independence. I also want to clarify that this is a program for personal enrichment. It's not a credit-bearing program. So the courses are generally designed for beginners in each respective field. You don't have to be an expert in art history to take this course just because it's taught by a university professor. They've designed the material for beginners. No exams or grades are given. There's a certificate of completion awarded at the end, but you don't have to stress about your big midterm or final exam or anything like that. We will provide optional readings, and in 2023, we're going to try to provide some sort of summer reading before the program if you want to get a head start, and readings also to accompany the various activities you'll be doing throughout the semester. And for the Italian course, there is limited homework. I want to stress this, limited homework, because it's just what is needed to actually practice the Italian language skills you're learning in class. And then finally, because it's a non-credit program, we cannot sponsor student visas for adult study abroad. That said, it's a 6-week program, about 45 days. And keep in mind that most tourist visas or, visa-free entries to Italy, if you're coming from the United States, if you're coming from the UK, for example, they allow you to be in Italy for up to 90 days. So not only can you stay for the duration of the program on a regular tourist stay, but you can actually stay in Italy and Europe for quite a bit longer if you like. And then finally, you will be taking Italian language class as part of this program, but we're not a language immersion program, meaning you're going to be able to practice your Italian language skills with those native speakers, like we said, but most likely a lot of your participants are going to be from the United States or maybe the UK, and they're going to be speaking English. And the other classes, like the highlights of Rome class, the art history class, the optional classes, are being conducted in English. So it's not a 100% immersion where you're speaking Italian all day from the morning to the night. There are some programs like that out there, but our program is a little more broad in scope. And then, so again, before we get to our participants, I want to address the elephant in the room. Everyone always wants to know, okay, so what is the actual financial commitment here? How much does this program cost? So the prices are on our website. We've just updated our website the other day, and I also have the prices here. So the price for the 6-week adult study abroad program is this program fee that you see right up top. That's $3,500 USD. Although I'm going to mention on the next slide, we have a variety of discounts that we offer. The supplemental courses vary in price depending on whether they have 5 meetings or 6 meetings, and also it also depends on whether they have materials costs or things like that. But generally, they're going to be between 500 and 600 USD. The mid-program excursion, it depends on if you want to share a room or if you want a single hotel room. But that, again, will be in this range, $795 to $995. But that includes your accommodations, your transportation, the tickets, the guided tours, and quite a few really nice meals as well. And then the Friday excursion fee, again, it varies depending on the destination, but those are less expensive, $75 to a little over $100 for the day, depending on what's included in terms of visits and meals and things like that. I want to clarify that housing, airfare, and travel insurance is not included in these costs reported here. We will offer a lot of support for you to find housing, but we just don't have enough student housing to actually offer program housing for everyone in adult study abroad. So we'll tell you which neighborhoods to look at. We'll tell you which platforms to look on. We'll tell you what prices and things to expect, what to look out for, but you will have to find ultimately an apartment on your own. And our alumni can maybe talk about that in a second. That said, we have lots of special rates available. So we have all sorts of discounts, especially for people with connections to Temple University, and we're expanding our discount offerings all the time. So keep checking our website. If you are Temple University alum, faculty or staff member, or Temple Rome alumni, you will automatically get 15% off the base program fee. So if you do the math, that's a savings of over $500 right off the get-go. We're also extending this year a discount to parents of Temple University and Temple University Rome students and alumni. So you don't have to be an alum yourself, but if you have a child who's a current student or alum, we can offer a discount as well. We also have a discount for what we call our buddy discount. So, it was originally thought of for couples, but it doesn't have to be just a couple. But if you register for the program with a group of 2 or more, it could be your friends, it could be your spouse, it could be even your children, then everyone in that group will get a 10% discount off the base program fee, regardless of whatever affiliation you have with Temple University. We also have discounts available to participants in various adult learning initiatives on Temple University, although of course these discounts do not necessarily add up with one another. But that's been a lot of me talking, and again, I don't have much voice left. I've really been digging deep to try to get my voice to stick around for today. So I'm gonna turn off the slideshow, and I'm gonna ask our panelists to turn their video on. So that would be Patricia and Tina, if you're there, if you could turn your video on. Ciao, Tina. And Patricia, are you with us somewhere?
Yeah, I'm here, but when I go to start video, it says your host has stopped me.
Okay, so I will find you. And maybe while I'm looking for you, sorry, here we go. Does that work? Wonderful.
Yes.
Great. It's great to see you both again. So maybe we could just start with some brief introductions, talking about who you are, where you come from, how you got involved in adult study abroad and things like that. And maybe we just go chronologically. So Patricia was here in spring 2023, and then Tina was just here. We just saw each other a couple of weeks ago. So just got back and is in that re-entry phase of the program. So Patricia, could you start us off and then we'll hear from Tina?
Yes. Well, I think my experience reflects that of a lot of the people in my group. We were emerging from COVID, and
Mhm.
all of us felt like we needed to grab onto life in some way, and that we needed an adventure that went beyond trying to go to the grocery store, or that became challenging. Um, and it far exceeded any expectation I had. I have always loved Rome, but this experience was really different, and I think um, the testimonies that you heard early, it is a living experience. It's about grappling with apartments and the metro and everything, the trash in Rome,
Yeah.
the everything.
Patricia,
And
could you tell us just a little bit about where you're from and what you were doing before you did the program?
yeah, well, I'm from Philadelphia. I worked for philanthropies around the United States, had started at the Pew Trusts in Philadelphia as the head of research and evaluation, and I worked at the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and got to travel around the world in that job, I spent some time in Nairobi and also in Bangkok. Uh, but this was special. I wasn't burdened by all the worries of work. This was really a step into something that was really just for me. So
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you, Patricia. Tina, could you introduce yourself to
Sure.
our participants? Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. I just wasn't sure. My headset's been acting up. Hello, everyone. My name is Tina. I use she, her pronouns. And as AJ said, I just finished the adult study abroad program like 2 weeks ago, I think it was. I'm actually still abroad, so I haven't formally started my re-entry yet. But I am a Temple grad. So I graduated from main campus in 2006. I also studied abroad when I was in undergrad. So I'd been to the Rome campus before, and I'd been really eager to return. I fell in love with the city, like Patricia said. So I'd been interested in returning for a while. I currently work in human resources, talent, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and youth engagement for a national nonprofit in the States. And I'm based in California.
And Tina, I remember correctly, you were on sabbatical, right? Which allowed you to
Yes.
do the program. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd been thinking about, I'd heard about the program through the listserv, the alumni listserv, and I'd really been thinking a lot about it for over a year. I remember bothering AJ many times via email to learn more about the program. So yeah, if I was really thinking about planning for my sabbatical, how I wanted to spend and use that time. I'd also had a major surgery a few years ago. And as soon as I went through my recovery, COVID hit and my organization kind of went into crisis mode, as many of ours did. So I'd been operating in chaos for a while. And so I knew I really needed like a reset. And so going back to Italy, just knowing it's a different pace, a different culture, was something that was really appealing to me. And it just kind of really synced with where I am at the time.
Yeah.
And I was really too excited about the lifelong and the experiential learning aspect of the program. That's really just a part of my belief system and my values. And it was really great, as Patricia said, to really be embedded in a city and in the culture. I will say, even though I looked forward to this for a while, I did have a lot of moments of worry and anxiety. My work schedule was not super forgiving and actually planning out all the pieces of this. So I felt super last minute in a lot of the planning, but it all worked out. It all worked out really well.
Wonderful. So, I want to leave time for some questions from the audience, but Patricia, and then we'll come back to you, Tina. Could you just maybe off the top of your head try to list one really specific highlight, one memory that stuck with you? I know it's tough to just pick one, but one experience that you did that you really remember.
all right. This is going to sound maybe a little pedestrian, but it was an early dinner at the Italian language teacher's home. Was really wonderful in so many ways. I am a bit of a introvert, and I can get overwhelmed by groups and groupiness, and there's a lot of that, and yet it was spectacular experience. The people were lovely. You got to see the range of people in our group was really interesting, because we had someone who had just graduated from Temple. We had a physician who on the faculty of Brown. We had such a mix of people, but somehow we gelled, and I think we gelled that night. At least for me, we did.
Yeah, wonderful. Tina, how about you? What would be one highlight you could pick out from the program?
I'm gonna have to do two, but I'll get through them quickly. So similar to Patricia, Italian Lab, one of the ones which was part of our language course, one of the ones that really stuck out for me was we had an opportunity to go to a local high school and work with Roman high school students and helped them practice their English, and they helped us practice our Italian. And we got to just learn and talk to each other about our perceptions about each other's culture and what we learned and seen and experienced or consumed from from TV and movies. We found out we watched a lot of the same Netflix shows, so like Gilmore Girls and stuff like that. So that was a really great highlight. And then I can't speak enough about the migration and identity course. It was really important to me for this time to really move beyond a tourist perspective. And Professor Ranelli really took us off the beaten path and outside of the city walls, and really got to see Rome and learn the history and get context on so many of the neighborhoods and their populations. And he'd also lived in a lot of them as well. So he had that personal connection to a lot of the places. So getting to walk around and see street art and things like that were really meaningful. Getting to go to a grassroots organization, the nonprofit that you mentioned, AJ, and meet the executive director and learn about the work that they do and the challenges and ask questions. And be there during an election, which I don't think anyone had a heads up on before we got there, but even having that context woven into our class was really important. And I'll just name, like, I had some moments of anxiety given my identity around the election time, but I was fine, everything was fine. And I'll name that the diversity of the neighborhood that I was staying in and living in really helped with that too.
Great.
Can I
Wonderful.
add on?
Tina, yeah, go ahead, Patricia.
Because a couple things you probably won't say, but and that'll be the last one. Language is so much better than you've ever experienced in other language programs. They have it down, and it was a joy to participate in language. And there have been some of the spouses of participants who didn't, who only engaged in the highlights class and didn't go to the language class, and they regretted it after because they could see how engaging it was and how people advanced from all different levels and with all kinds of phobia about learning language. That's one thing. The other is housing. Listen to AJ. You want to be in a place that has good transportation. And we didn't listen to him. And we walked 23,000 steps every day. And then the final thing I want to say, and this is what you won't say, is that this was really well organized program. And we were very well supported. I was concerned because what if we get COVID there? What if I had that nagging at me? What if someone gets sick? Or we were incredibly supported. And as it turned out, a friend of mine who visited got ill, and he had conditions. It wasn't COVID, but he had conditions that made it particularly difficult. And the physician associated with the program spoke to him on the phone, told him to go to the hospital. He went to the hospital. He had a good experience. It was just great. So that's that.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. And I'll just say we have been doing this. The Adult Study Abroad program is relatively new still, but we have been doing these study abroad programs for our undergraduates for a long time. So we have a lot of really useful resources and connections, whether they be doctors, English-speaking doctors, or English-speaking counselors, connections to international hospitals and things like that. So we're able to connect you with those resources. Even though we may not be able to offer the insurance directly as part of the program, we can still offer a lot of the support that goes with it in terms of connecting you with doctors, even doctors who can make house calls, who can, help you with prescriptions and things like that. So we do try to provide a lot of support. I'm keeping my eye on the time, and officially we're out of time, but I think at least I'm able to stay a little bit longer to answer questions and things. Johnny, I don't know if you're able, and Patricia and Tina, if you guys are able to stay a few more minutes.
Sure, AJ, but you need to share the information about your email and how people can get more information about the program.
Perfect. So let me put the slides back up because some of that material is here on the slideshow. So
yes.
But before we get to questions, I just want to talk about general next steps. I'll go through kind of quickly because this is information that you can also find on our website. But basically, we have an Adult Study Abroad email list, which you can sign up online on our website. You can find it at the link here. It says here applications for 2023 will open November 1st. However, please check our website for updates. I'm afraid that we may have to delay the application opening due to a technical issue with the application system. But in any case, it will open in early November this year. We're opening things a little bit earlier than we have in the past. We accept the applications on a rolling basis, but the sooner the better because places in the program are limited and we do process the applications as they come in. So general priority deadlines, you can see here, these are quite late, but the earlier you turn your application in, the earlier we can approve it, the earlier you can enroll and save your spot in the program. There's no application fee, by the way. Enrollment, so that's when you actually sign up for the program and save your spot. A 10% deposit is due at the time of enrollment to save your spot, and the rest of the payments can come later. Once you are accepted into the program and going through the enrollment process, we're going to have a bunch of smaller Zoom meetings, pre-departure meetings that go over all those questions and anxieties you might have leading up to the actual start of the program, including finding an apartment, which we know a lot of people really worry about. And then we generally priority deadlines for enrolling in the program: March for the spring program, which begins in May, and June for the fall program, which begins in September. But these, again, there's some flexibility with these deadlines. These are more like recommendations. The program deposit, like I said, is due when you enroll. The weekend excursion fee, that Sorrento trip I mentioned, that is going to become due a little bit earlier so we can make the necessary arrangements in Sorrento, make sure we get those hotels and everything locked in. But some of the other payments can come a little bit closer to the date of your departure. Now, that's really everything. So all of my contact information is here on the screen, but I will also make sure to write in the chat right now my personal email address, which is ajfitzgerald@temple.edu. And of course, if you go to rome.temple.edu, and we'll be sending out a follow-up email with a recording of this webinar and also some of these key links in the next couple of days. You can find all of the program information will always be posted and updated here. rome.temple.edu/adult-study-abroad. Both of these emails that you see here will go directly to my personal inbox. And finally, you can also sign up for our mailing list to get updates when applications go live, when important deadlines are coming up and things like that. So that's really everything we wanted to talk to you guys about today. And for now, I'm really just happy to stay on the line and try to answer questions you might have. You can ask us questions, you can ask Tina and Patricia questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. So my colleagues, Johnny and Helen, have been looking at the chat and the Q&A in a little bit.
Yes, AJ, we have a question for you.
Okay.
When will we know if we have been accepted in the program?
So generally this year, applications are going to be coming in November. They're going to be opening up, and I'm going to start processing those probably. It's not a holiday that's celebrated in Italy, but it's still a holiday that I celebrate, American Thanksgiving. So probably, at the end of November, early December is when we're going to start processing the first batch of applications that came in. So again, it's a rolling basis, and it depends when you turn your application in. If you turn your application in right before the Christmas holidays, which is a big holiday, obviously here in Italy, it may take us a little bit longer to process that, but we'll try to process generally within a couple of weeks of you submitting the application.
Can we just say, very quickly, AJ, we had some questions about the dates. Can you just cover the dates for the two cohorts very quickly?
Right. So I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I hope this is the right one because I'm writing it from scratch. But the official dates will always live on our program website, but very off the top of my head, if I don't remember incorrectly, arrival for the spring is going to be May 10th and departure June 22nd. And arrival for the fall will be September 6th, departure October 19th. So May, June, and September, October.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you anticipate the dates being similar in 2024?
It's hard for me to think about 2024 just yet. We think it'll be fairly similar. There have been additional adult study abroad programs that we've been considering adding. We have a campus in Tokyo, for example, that's even larger than our campus here in Rome, and I've been in touch with our colleagues about creating adult study abroad Tokyo. We've been thinking about adding a special shorter program in the summer for teachers, because we get a lot of contacts from teachers who have time in the summer. And so it's hard for me to say what 2024 will look like just yet, but this is the general format that we're going to stick with year to year, for at least for this original version of adult study abroad.
What does the application entail? Like, what materials do we need?
It's really pretty low stakes, the application. We mostly want to make sure that you're a real person. In terms of, the places, again, a lot of weight is given to first come, first serve. However, we may also consider other factors just in terms of, for example, balancing the different Italian classes. We need to make sure we have a somewhat of a balance in the different levels of Italian and things like that. But the best way to ensure acceptance of your application is to submit it as early as possible. But it's low stakes. There's a few short answer questions just to talk about your interest in the program and in Italy. But the rest of it is a lot of just basic biographical information we need, and also some questions about the various program options you might be interested in, so we can start planning the program.
How do we find out what the senior OLLI rate will be?
The senior OLLI rate, very simply, is a flat rate equal to the cost of your subscription to the OLLI program for this semester or this academic year. So basically, your OLLI subscription, we will write that off the cost of your adult study abroad registration. But remember, the discounts can't be added together, so you have to pick one or the other.
Is there a way to connect participants in advance? I don't want to leave by myself.
Absolutely. I mean, Patricia and Tina, were you able to connect with your participants before the program?
Yes.
And how?
Yes, AJ actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, AJ actually set us up on a listserv, so we were able to get in contact. I'll name two, like me, some folks were last minute, so you won't know fully who's in the program probably until closer to your start date, but there is ways to get in contact with folks to coordinate housing.
Yeah, and I think both of these groups, you both had like pre-departure like dinners in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or not your group, Patricia?
No, but we haven't given up. We've had a reunion,
Yeah.
and we stay on the on the WhatsApp list constantly. Poor AJ.
Yeah. Yeah, and our group from 2021, they're still in touch on their own WhatsApp group, and they're getting together. And we're gonna have our first adult study abroad reunion next spring in Philadelphia, which will be really fun.
Yeah, we had a pre-departure gathering. I didn't make it because I was from California. We actually had a couple folks in my cohort from across the country who couldn't physically make it. But yeah, there was a pre-departure, and we're making plans for some follow-up eventually.
Wonderful. Are there any questions coming in? I'm sorry, I'm not always able to read the chat in the Q&A section myself, trying to wrangle with the PowerPoint and everything, but does anyone else have a question? You can raise your hand and ask it also.
I think we covered almost all the questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Helen, thank you so much for helping. You mentioned different levels of language ability. Would you say the program in general is geared towards those who don't have a lot of experience in Italy?
I would say it's definitely more geared to those participants, because it's kind of, Adult Study Abroad is a small program overall. In the past two cohorts have been 15, 16 people. And so within those groups of 15, 16 people, we've had all different levels of ability and experience traveling. For some people, it's their first time traveling in Europe. And other people had been to Italy many times and already spoke some Italian. For example, we even had a woman this past fall, this was kind of a special arrangement. We set up a custom independent study for her. She already spoke Italian at a C2 level and wanted to do what amounted to almost graduate level work in Italian studies, and we were able to arrange an independent study with one of our professors. So generally, the base program, I think, is more geared to people who are starting out in art history, starting out in Italian, but as the program grows, we're adding more and more opportunities for people who already have, I think, certain level of familiarity with Italy and the language. And I think a lot of people who have traveled to Italy and Rome before have said that through this program, they still discovered a lot of aspects of the city, of the country that they hadn't seen in their previous travels.
I think we covered all the questions that we had in the chat and in the question and answers.
Great. Well, again, I'm available by email. You'll find lots of information on our website. We'll post this video online. I'm also available by Zoom. After the applications go live, I also am happy if you really have additional questions, I can meet by Zoom. I would like to especially thank our two guests, Tina and Patricia, for joining us today and volunteering to speak with everyone. And I always love personally getting a chance to connect our participants from the different groups, because I keep telling them I think you guys would really like each other. So it's wonderful seeing you guys again. I hope to see you again at the reunion next spring. And I would like to thank Helen, who's not on camera right now, but she's been helping in the background, dealing with the Q&A and everything. And of course, Johnny, the best MC I could ever ask for. So thank you, everyone. Oh, there's Helen. Ciao, Helen. Yeah.
Thanks, Ellen. And thank you so much for attending.
Yes. Thank you,
Ci vediamo a
everyone.
Roma.
I'm going to put my email one more time in the chat. I saw someone looking for it.
Right.
All right. Thanks
Thank
again,
you,
everyone. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, Tina. Ciao,
Ciao,
Patricia.
ciao.
Ciao, Helen.
Wow.